Good afternoon, everybody. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I'm sending out some invitations currently, so just hang out. And we'll get started here shortly. I want everybody to know the meeting is being recorded. Goes straight to the Zoom cloud. And then I will post it again later so everybody can listen to it then. Dang it, I'm not getting the... So what's going on with everybody today? I believe everybody should be unmuted. So unless you're muted on your end, let me double check here. Okay, yeah, everybody's unmuted unless you're muted on your end. So feel free to speak while I send these invitations out.
What's up, Keith?
How you doing, Ira?
We're good.
Staying within your mind?
I am within my mind. I'm putting my courage ahead of fear, and I'm going to own this crap.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. We got to have positive attitude in this stuff that we're dealing with, so keep it up.
For sure. I sent you that table of authorities that I got worked out and found last night for all the constitutional protected rights for homeschooling and DFS and CPS seizure and search and all that. So once I get this human rights thing re-edited, since it didn't load right on Word, I'll get that sent to you too.
Yeah, good. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I should hear shortly.
No, you're good. Take your time. If it helps somebody else out, that's all it's worth right there.
Good deal. Okay.
You want to come say hi to Keith real quick?
Hi, Keith.
There you go.
How you doing, babe?
I'm doing all right.
Good deal. Good deal. Okay. Hey, there's Rich. How you doing, brother?
All right. Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Okay. Like I just told everybody else that's that first joined, I did a cloud meeting the other day, and it was just a spur of the moment thing, but we discussed some topics that were as usual valuable and important, but I put the recording on pause when I opened the room earlier, so I didn't get it recorded. My intent is to record all the Zoom meetings, and in that doing so, I want everybody to know it goes directly to the Zoom cloud first, and it is stored there for 10 years, evidently. In the meantime, I will go ahead, and once the meeting's down and is available, I will post it again for everybody else. But I appreciate everybody joining me live, because like I've said before, I don't want to be the only one putting information out there, and I need input from other people's perspectives and views and opinions in order to be able to show my own open-mindedness, because I can't see everything myself. I only see things from my perspective. So when somebody else comes in and asks a tax question that I'm not familiar with, because I haven't paid taxes for 15 years. Right. And I did it simply by just quitting. I didn't file any of all these documents and stuff. I just quit. And so when it comes to some of these questions or some of this information that I put out there, I put it out there because I comprehend it from my viewpoint, but I don't have any experience. So you people that have experience, like the Zoom that we did yesterday with Chip here, he has his own experience with the CDL in reference to a suspension issue that we're able to acknowledge and see how it works through his experience, and show how my opinion on it is pretty much valid in that point. And so, and that's why I need your input, particularly in these live formats, so we can automatically switch to another window and do a quick research and get a general consensus of what the opinion should naturally be. So
All right.
I appreciate everybody's joining me here in these live Zooms. It's important to me. I can only help myself by helping others, and others can only help themselves by helping me. It's a two-way street. It's how it works. So again, I appreciate it, and know that everything I put forward is just that: opinions, news, information, and facts that already exist in contemplation of how we can remedy the problems in our lives. And so today, I got an actual printed document that I printed up myself, based on information that I researched. And this was made on December 2nd when I was up in Waterloo on a visit. And I'm going to get started with that. It's a basic statement of separation, showing that you don't have to give out certain information, and it's by their own laws. And so I start. And I believe if you go back in my post, you will see that this is posted in written text form. I'm not sure. I haven't looked it up, but I do have it in printed form here and can print it off in text form again if I need to. But it says, I, formerly known as Keith Orland, and this is Keith hyphen Orland, :stop, kin, that's lowercase kin, hyphen, Conrady, hyphen, little. And the specific reason that I denote this name here, and I'm going to put it in the chat so everybody can see it exactly in text form at the now time. The reason I do this is because I was adopted, and in accordance to correct parse syntax grammar, I want to be specific. And so at the separation point, which is the full colon, I put kin first. And that shows the relation between the first and then the full stop and the what comes after as being kin with. And then Conrady is my biological last name. And so therefore it should come first in time, first in line, and it should be hyphenated with the last name of the family that adopted me. And therefore we have Keith hyphen Orland, :stop, kin hyphen Conrady hyphen little. And then you see, I try to make it a practice to almost always use ... And that is a reservation grammatically in English, correct parse syntax grammar, concise grammar, that it is a reservation to continue that statement in that direction, in which is at the end. So I have reserved already my right grammatically to continue on in that statement. And then I can continue on with a different statement, but having that 3 dots there says that, okay, well, this is a stopping point. If anybody needs clarification, I can clarify from here. And I'm stating that reservation right now, that if you have any problem with the style of the grammar that I have used there, then it is your responsibility to ask, because I have made a plain statement. And if you don't recognize that separation, then it's on you to follow up. So in having said that, I'm going to continue on, and it goes with a semicolon after little in this here. In this text in the chat, I put the ... so that if anybody has any questions, I can again refer to this or my own contemplation or expression of that in the chat box. But here, as it's expressed, instead of putting the ... I put semicolon, meaning that it's connected with the next statement, which says, and now called by L hyphen Hotep secondly, : stop, Pero. Now, if I wanted to, instead of putting kin, I can put pen name or author hyphen Pero. And then when I sign my documents, instead of putting Keith Little, I can just put Pero. Or maybe I want to use a symbol. Looks a lot like P, but it's got fancy artwork, but you can still tell that it's a P. I can create that symbol as my mark, or I can make it as a brand or a logo. This is my trade name, trademark, copyright, inherent legacy. So anyway, back to the document. It just has the semicolon and it says, and now called by L hyphen Hotep Secondly, full colon stop, Pero, and again, another semicolon, meaning it's a connector, but shows a separation. Do make the following statement of separation from employment of trade or business. Right here, I want to stop because one of the codes that we're going to reference here in this document pertains to nationality and the military. And while you're a civil force, whether it be a civil public servant or a civil entity on the land being employed as a civil person, or are you a military person that is then deployed to foreign lands? You are still ployed. You are still plotted. Comprehend that. Either way, you are plotting with the government in communistic acts of taking advantage of your fellow man through a corporate monetary system that takes profit, which means you have to take advantage of another person in order to gain that access or that excess. In life, we're not granted excess. We're granted prosperity and abundance to pass that forward to our next generation. And that is what legacy is, the passing on of the use of what we can no longer use. So again, it's like me planting an apple tree now that won't produce for another 10 years. I won't get any use of it if I die within 10 years, but whoever I leave that to has use of it, and that is my legacy. That is the eternal life. It's the passing on of the use of life, the energy of life, so it can continue. Not the name, not the calling, but the spirituality of life itself. So, otherwise known as functions of public office within or without the Department of State of the United States Information Agency. As used herein, the term employment includes all periods of assignment or detail. As you sign, verifying the details of the facts, information of the contract. That's what you're doing every time you sign one of their documents. You're creating a financial instrumentality that they can use against you in propagation of a mixed war upon the people. Your right to bear arms. They're not laying a sword against you. They're using the pen is mightier than the sword by scripting words, swords on paper against you. Learn the details of the information of the contract. As you sign the paper. as well as any periods of temporary, part-time, or intermittent employment therein. And the term separation includes any suspension or any period in excess of 30 days, retirement from commercial activities, entry into disability or pension programs of which benefits are guaranteed prior to consideration, whether duly paid or as contributions. This verbiage right here is very important in regards to that Social Security Administration application that I filled out unknowingly, unwittingly, and thereby unintentionally, and have thus then paid into through contributions. I have in my possession only documents, instruments, which I am allowed through prior consideration for actual benefit by and through equal rights among the laws. I shall not publish nor reveal to any person any classified or administratively controlled information of which I have knowledge, or any other information transmitted to myself in confidence in the course of any performance, contracts, leases, bids, awards, rewards, etc., except as may be authorized by the officials of the employing department of or agency empowered and conferred by federal executive order granting permission to disclose such information. 3, I hereby advise all principals, agents, actors, performers, participants, interlopers, interveners, officious intermeddlers, etc., to heed the criminal penalties relating to United States government records, information, and the use thereof as a matter of national importance. Violations often committed by officials, officers of the court, and participating agents unlearned in law includes, but is not limited to, 18 of the U.S. Code as follows. Section 641, public money, property, or records. 793, gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information. 794, gathering or delivering defense information to aid foreign government. 798, disclosure of classified information. 952, diplomatic codes and correspondence. 1905, disclosure of confidential information generally. 27.1, concealment, removal, or mutilation generally. Includes, but is not limited to, Title 42 U.S. Code as follows. 2272, violation of specific sections. 2273, violations of sections generally. 2274, communication of restricted data. 2275, receipt of restricted data. 2276, tampering with restricted data. 2277, disclosure of restricted data. These violations lay wide, the civil process of 42 U.S. Code 1983, civil action for deprivation of rights. Section 50 of the U.S. Code, Section 783, as follows. 783B, receipt or attempt to receive by foreign agent or member of communist organization classified information. Any bar association, any foreign bar associate is a communist by definition, as investigated by by Congress. The Lawyers Guild is part of the American Bar Association. All members of the Lawyers Guild and all bar associates are communists, as stated on record in the 1950 81st Congress, and it has remained unrebutted to this day. 783, limitation period. These are all codes you should familiarize yourself with, people. And I made a post the other day in regards to reasons why you don't give out the Social Security number. Those are all related directly to a statement of separation. Those are that's a taxpayer identification number. And it is in accordance to the master file with the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, Internal Revenue Manual. We continue in regards to employees, principals, agents, actors, performers, participants, etc. These restrictions are consistent with and do not supersede, conflict with, or otherwise alter the obligations, rights, or liabilities of said persons created by Executive Order 12356, Section 7211 of Title 5 of the United States Code, governing governing disclosures to Congress. Section 1034 of Title 10 of the United States Code, as amended by the Military Whistleblower Protection Act, governing disclosures of illegality, waste, fraud, abuse, or public health or safety threats. This is why we see all those codes in Title 42 of the United States Code, public health and welfare, all relating to the public person. The Intelligence Identities Protection Act of 1982, which is at 50 United States Code 421, which is again the Nationality Act, the Nationality Code, Title 50, wherein we talk about communist organizations. And this is the governing disclosures that could expose confidential government agents. Why would they be confidential government agents? Would it be because they are communists? And the statutes that protect against disclosures that may compromise the national security. Again, we're talking the one word security, and we see it in the Social Security Administration, Public Security Administration. They are not administrating the man's security, medical, health, and welfare. They are administrating the person. And the person has no health.
Oh, man. Tell me about it.
So
There's a whole bunch of them back east they call Congress that fits that little part.
yep. And the statutes that protect against disclosures that may compromise the national security, including, again, we're going back to this Title 18 of the United States Code, and this is the Criminals Code, Sections 641, 793, 794, 798, and 952. And Section 4B of the Subversive Activities Act, again in the Title 50, the Nationalities Code, Section 783B, which is the part where we're talking about communism. The definition requirements, obligations, rights, sanctions, and liabilities created by said executive order are listed statutes and listed statutes are incorporated into this agreement and are controlling. What I'm doing right here is using their codes against them, telling them, I know you are admitting you are the communist. You are admitting the transfer of private information through banking revenue laws, all litigated through commercial taxing courts with bar attorneys, telling me I have to have a license to practice law. 4, I reaffirm that the provisions of the espionage laws have been made available to said principals, agents, actors, performers, participants, etc. I have returned all necessary classified information to proper authorities that I will not transmit, communicate, convey classified information to any unauthorized person or organization, that I will promptly report to the Federal Bureau of Investigation any attempt by any unauthorized person to solicit classified information with or without a security debriefing. So when that nice policy officer pulls me over and asks me, solicits me for a derivative of a national security detail information, I'm sorry, but I must ask where you are authorized to do so first. Are you requiring me to disseminate information to a communist through a transaction requiring a financial economic substance for its benefit? How dare you try to commit piracy on the land? 5, I am aware that the Title 18 United States Code, Section 1001, provides criminal penalties for knowingly and willingly falsifying or concealing material facts in a statement or document submitted to any agency of the United States government concerning a matter under its jurisdiction. When you submit this document, you are admitting to submitting to its jurisdiction. Statement of separation showing you ain't got to give them shit, because you already gave it all back and you promised you're not going to give it. I'm not going to give it. Sorry, but that's money, property, and records under Title 5 of the United States Code, government and employees. I am not an employee. I am not performing the functions of public office as defined as trade or business. I am conducting my own private affairs. Whether they be business or personal of my own is none of your private concern, as I have already discerned. And when it comes to that suspension that we spoke of here, sorry folks, that 30 days is long passed by. And therefore, by mere operation of law and your own words, that license was suspended. Any leases are suspended. Any contracts are suspended. See, if it was an active contract, it would show activity. It hasn't showed any activity, and therefore it is suspended automatically by your own auto words, your own authorized words. So we are in agreement. There is no controversy in your court or in my court. Therefore, what is this personal and subject matter based on a false record that this man here is bringing forth? Is he trying to get me to disseminate your information? Sorry, I've already told you it doesn't belong to me. I acknowledge that. You keep your communistic propaganda. I'll open the board with that, folks. Please unmute your mics and give me some feedback.
Awesome, brother.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I don't think I swore in there, though I might have got a little passionate. I think I kept the swearing down today, folks. But you can see my passion, and I want to see that back.
Yeah.
Hey, we finally get to see my brother Ira. How you doing, brother?
Well, gotta show this ugly mug for a minute anyway.
Yeah. So basically, when we get this concept of the separation, we have to realize how to see it's as I've always expressed, and again, they've expressed, the law is to be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. And God says, I am a respecter of no person. So why should I respect their persons? If they're operating in persons, I have to bring them to a higher level of respect and make them respect me as a man, to show them how I respect their word in person. I'm going to respect it. I agree. I shouldn't be disseminating your information.
Hey, I'm just wondering that now I don't know. I'm wondering if I did not sign my license the way I signed them. I'm wondering if they still could have wound up suspending them. But I think that's what protected them from being suspended in the first place, was signing them like that, and the letter that I sent to them, putting them on notice of all the stuff that they were, in violation of, and.
Okay. One thing we got to remember is that these guys are just public servants. And if you go back, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put it in the post here in the chat. I want everybody to read this book that I'm going to put in. No matter what you have against the Jews or for the Jews or the Judaism or whatever kind of religion, I don't want you to look at this message that's being presented here as anything to do with any of that, but be discretionary in relating the process of what happened in Germany in this book and how it's explained through further research afterwards, through the Nuremberg trials and everything, that the process that happened there, it's the same thing we're going through today.
Yeah.
The warring factor is different because we're learning and we're trying to change history. And this is why I say to defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. And that's one of the primary lessons we're supposed to learn. So I hope you read this book and comprehend that these public servants are just doing their job, and they don't know a lot of the information we're presenting. They are unlearned in the law, as I stated in there. And being unlearned in the law, we have to present the information as filling in the facts that they're not presenting because they don't know. But we've got to do it in a respectful manner, but yet a forceful manner.
Right.
And in doing so, we have to be uniform throughout the jurisdiction and be able to relate that he is a respecter of no persons. And therefore, I'm not going to respect any personal presentation here unless I'm the one that authorized it. I did not authorize these. I was coerced. And I tried to explain to this young man that pulled me over alongside the road that under his private capacity, he was requiring me to present information that I'm not allowed to give. This whole presentation has brought in fraud, whether they know it or not. And so we have to be aware of that. And so I hope you all read that book, Hitler's Willing Executioners, and know that we have to teach these people by being peaceful and asserting our knowledge in a right manner so that they can learn it. Because somebody wrote a letter to the DMV, and instead of getting a response from the DMV, their response came from the Attorney General's office, and they asked us how to respond to it, but they only give us a picture of a top response with nothing that the Attorney General gave. I can't respond to that except to say, hey, write back to the Attorney General and ask them what business is it of theirs? How are they connected to the DMV? Why are they responding in accordance to my response to the DMV? Where did this information get disseminated to the Attorney General? Okay, Attorney General, now that they put you on the hook, where is this driver's license lease or this contract that is valid? You seem to be the one that's been finger pointed and blaming and being blamed for their actions. They're saying you're the superior that I need to communicate with. So please help provide that information. Now, if he takes it one step further and sends you to the United States Attorney General, then you're moving.
Yeah.
Then you're asking the right questions. But if he tries to ignore that part of the process and keeps you in his state jurisdiction by feeding you a bunch of BS, you have to rebut that BS in responding to him. Period. Plain and simple. And again, you've got to be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. So in his state statute jurisdictions, you've got to be able to point out where it says, I'm not liable. So if I'm not liable, who is? Why am I being dragged into court? That's a tortious action, not under employment laws or in contract law, but against the original true law, which everything else under that is supposed to be uniform with. So we have to comprehend we are the law. We have to recognize their law. We have to be cognizant of their law. We have to realize what they're realized and point them out. I'm sorry, you said yourself, that number doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the government. And that's strictly part of the public health and welfare system through a numerical identification. That numerical identification is then extended into the transportation code through a driver license, through a state statute, which is a contract with the federal government for enforcement of those statutes under Title 48 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 48. Let's see here. Let me pull that up real quick.
I'm going to sit here and break down Title 45 and the 46 that's attached to that just for my case.
Okay,
Use
Title
the wrong law
48.
against them.
Before I go any further, Title 48 of the Code of Federal Regulations refers specifically to acquisitions, federal acquisitions regulations, okay? Now, if the government wants to acquisition federal taxes, which is the purpose of all commerce, then they have already taken the public health and welfare and made it a commercial aspect under the derivative of a driver license on a state level being derived from the Social Security Administration, because you have to give a Social Security you got to give them the Social Security number to get a driver license. So the driver license itself is extended from the Social Security Administration and is therefore a government and employee entity information.
Yeah.
It is details of information of government, not yourself. Quit volunteering. And this is all, it's all, the process of correcting this is all a matter of getting back into their system, learning. And you can point it out simply through statements like this, or you can intermix if you want to act in their personal capacity as that government person, you can go ahead and correct the SS5, all that stuff, and submit it back into them and operate that person. You can redo all those applications and stuff and correct that information and collapse that person and deposit him in your private trust as an instrument, as proof of your ability to construct your own international bills of lading or bills of exchange. You are your own portmaster. You're the one that gets to assign the use of your own property, whether it be physical, tangible property or your intangible property that you get to write. You get to draft the same kind of instruments as they do. No fiction has a right to draft an instrument that you don't have the right to draft as well. Period.
Can I make a fast add in there on you, Keith, about the Social Security card?
You
Had I
betcha.
known years ago that little bit of assistance here and there from the state that they've given me being a single parent, knowing now what I knew, if I knew back then what I know now, I would have never gave them her number or my number, ever.
Correct. And we've got to quit doing that. We've got to let them know it's a legitimate reason not to give that information. And this goes along with your Terry stops too in Trinity versus Pagliaro. When we talk about Terry stops and officers demanding identification, I'm sorry, officer, I don't care if it's a state ID or a driver license or a CDL. I don't care if it's my license to practice law. I'm not supposed to show you that because that's communist information belonging to a government and employee administration that acquisitions property through the dissemination of such details of information so that they can inform contracts. And that's all it is.
Yep.
And if you go back and replay that little string of that conversation I just put out there, those are all very specific words and terminology that they use. And you need to learn how to put them in strings like that to use it against them. The only way they're going to recognize it. When you go walking into that court and you notify this prosecutor over here that, wait a minute, before you say any word, let me allow the court to be informed through public notice and knowledge that the information, the details of the information that this man has passed on to the court and has presumably given personal and subject matter jurisdiction to the court, has done so in a quasi capacity of disseminating government information, which is clearly stating that he has personal jurisdiction over what is known, and I can verify, as well as thousands and millions of other people in this population, simply by putting into your research engine NUMEDIT, record request for printout. That is a government form on a government site that when you pull it up, it distinctly clarifies, I am the non-resident human being and not the quote statutory quote individual quote or unquote to whom the false record pertains, proving that the record that this man over here has brought, I cannot see because it's false, and it is stated as being false. Do you see me now? I guarantee you, they will comprehend that. They will see you. Go ahead, Odin.
Ah, stop it.
I was gonna. This is. Whoa. This is not exactly law related, but I wanted to ask you: have you ever seen the movie Click with Adam
Yeah.
Sandler?
Yeah. He
Okay,
goes
so
through and he
this is-
reprograms his life.
Yep.
Exactly. This is exactly what's happening here. You create a default setting, and then because you don't read, you are representing the default setting, and that's
Correct.
what they're accepting from you. Oh,
Yeah,
would you
there
like
is
the
no
default setting
replay or
again?
pause or the only record in your life
Well-
is right here.
Well, at the end, when Christopher Walken reveals himself as the angel of death, right? And the person is written on the gravestone. He's given him a chance to go back and correct the record from the point of where he made the original contract
Yep.
for the remote. So he executed the person, and then he went back to the original point of where he made the contract. And it was before all decisions were made, but he knew, right? If you go on sinning after receiving the knowledge of truth, there will be no forgiveness of sins. So a
Right.
letter, a gift was sitting on the counter from Christopher Walken's character. He opened it up, and inside the box there was the remote again, basically saying, would you like to eat the knowledge of, or eat the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil again? And he throws it away.
Yep.
So
Yep,
even
and
in
that's-
movies, you can see the symbolism. They're telling you exactly what you need to do. You're setting default settings just with your mind. And if you're going to be setting default settings, you need to read what they're putting in front of you, because they're assuming you're reading.
Yeah, and
My
if you're not,
right now.
and if you're not reading the words, it's because you're not seeing them. One of the biggest things that I try to impress upon people is getting back to the roots. And people, in order to study the roots of the English language, we need to study the Latin language. When we go to these high schools and they offer us these foreign languages, we need to really think about taking up Latin. That's where a large 98% of our English language comes from Latin. And when we get used to realizing that Latin is the prefixes and suffixes and the bodies all put together in different strings that we call English words, we can see the differences in fend, defend, defendant, defense, defensive, and things like that. We can see those root words. And that's what we need to get down to, is finding the root words, recognizing those by contracting off the conditions that were placed upon the root word, so we can find out what the original term of the word was. Because that's what your information of contract is they're placing terms and conditions upon the original words, hoping that you won't cognize it and be yourself.
And what's another word, or another word for condition? State.
State.
Yep.
Yep.
Terms and states.
Yeah, what state is the word in? Is it in the past tense, the future tense, or the now tense? See, when we think about the person is never, ever, even in the now tense, it is always past tense or future tense, and it is specifically derived on future tense, because it is only in the future that we can imagine a person to be. Once a person has already passed, we can realize the pastness of it never being, because it remains in the past while I am in the now tense and steadily keeps moving, verbalizing in the next phase of the now tense. I don't
Prepare
have
you
a
the way of
future.
the Lord and make his path straight.
Yes. Yep.
See, and to bring
So
in the
think
light of
about-
all that, reading that stuff, education, what Latin is, doesn't exist in school at all. That's another reason why my daughter is home educated.
Yeah.
They don't teach that. They don't want that. That stuff hasn't been taught for, God, at least since my dad was in high school. I mean, that's back maybe the 60s when it started to vaporize and disappear and all that. There's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And there's a reason why she's on these video chats and all that I do right now. Education, education, education.
Yeah, and it's one of those very important things to comprehend that. See, when we see those root words and we see those quote suffixes and prefixes, those are just Latin words. Those are actually words attached to another word that's attached to another word that makes that has term, that's changed the term. See, in banking law, the term, or in court law, the term is the length of time. It's a time period. It's a tract. It's a contract. And when we think about tract, most people think about that tract of land that they own. And they think it's bordered by this measurement of physical inches and feet or meets and bounds. No, the tract of land is a derivative of how long it has been in use through your family. How long has your family been living on the land? Eternally. You're my family.
Everlastingly.
When you get down to the naked truth of it and shed all clothes and material possessions, we are all one. And we come in the image and likeness. And then when we find our partner in life and we procreate, pro being Latin for forward, and even in the grapheme sense of the phoneme, forward, the phoneme has been morphed. It is not forward, it is forward. It is for the ward. For your ward, you create the prosperity and abundance to pass on for him to use. So again, it goes back to the land that I'm living on. If I plant a tree now and I die within 10 years and don't get use of it, those that I leave the land to use to, they get the legacy. They inherit the use of that tree that I granted, simply not by any verbal expression on paper or orally or phonetically, but simply by my action of planting it where I planted it. Actions are truth. Actions speak louder than words, period. And it
It's
cannot be
understanding.
denied.
God bless that tree bears fruit.
Yep.
It's an understanding. An understanding is an informal or unspoken agreement.
Correct. Correct. A true understanding. That's what I understand. Amen. Amen. So anyway, anybody else got anything to put in?
Honestly, Keith, I would. I've been following, and you're a good break from my little war right now. I was following you until that little sucker punch that Wyoming gave me over my daughter, but I'll catch up with you and Rich and a few other brothers once all this settles out to get caught up and continue on my pursuit of where you're going to. But right now, this little angel over here by me is where it's at. So,
Well, I would strongly suggest reading that information. Like I said, it should be back on December 2nd or December 3rd on my post. I'll go back and look myself. If it's not there, I will post it.
okay.
So look for it. But statement of separation is a basic thing. And when we put the powerful information in there that I've got, and I'm not saying it's the most powerful or the answer or anything, but when you put that powerful information in there, and like I said, I also posted reasons why you don't give out the Social Security number. I posted that the other day. Go ahead and include that in this document if you want. You know, specific reasons in your own code why I'm not supposed to give out that Social Security information. Details of the Social Security information. One of those details is the driver license and the information thereof. That is derivative. If I give out that information, it can lead to the exposure of the Social Security Administration information, and it does. It does. That's what
It
they
always-
use to access that account to draw up these bid bonds, performance bonds, and payment bonds.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it says right on the back of the freaking card all the time. It says, lock away in a safe place. Do not give this number out. I mean, my grandmother, she was born in 1919. She would always tell me when I started going to the workforce, Chip, don't you be giving out your Social Security number. I'm thinking,
Yep.
or where you go. But then
Yep.
now here it is. We're coming across.
And remember, people, that Social Security number, like I said, it's in relation to government and employees. And government employees have to take an oath. If you've never taken an oath, no good. Sorry, I've never
Right.
taken an oath to be a government employee. I can't give that information out. That would be disseminating communist information to a foreign national. Sorry, I can't do that. Second of all, same thing goes with the driver license. Driver license, you have to have, they specifically state for a motor vehicle operator lease, you have to have put in a separate handwritten statement, not a printed document, not a typed document, not an electronically transferred document, a handwritten statement under penalty of perjury that
Mhm.
your intent is to use it at least 50% of its use in the conduct of trade or business. And trade or business, again, is defined specifically as performance bid or performance contract or performance bond, performance in the functions of public office. And again, it relates to the public health and welfare. It's a public social security account, public charitable trust. That's why you see these churches operating under 501c3s as charitable organizations rather than 508c1as. Or C1A. 508c1a is a faith-based organization. So when these churches are operating on the 501c3 as a charity operation, then they are in fact in commerce and not based on faith.
Right.
So think about this stuff, people. Let me grab my I'm gonna grab my PayPal account thing, and anybody that wishes to forward any gratuities, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't have any set amounts. I don't like asking, but as I've said before, I can only help myself by helping you, and therefore vice versa, it works the same way. You can only help yourself by helping me, and so I'm hoping, let me get the link here if I can get the right one. I'm hoping you will
I think
return
I'll probably
pass
shoot you a little
forward
bit
some
next
gratuities.
coming Friday.
Say what?
I could probably shoot you something coming this Friday.
Hey, I appreciate you, everything you've already helped with, brother. Just keep
Yeah.
passing everything along. And like I said, it doesn't matter. I got to put it up here just in case, because like I said, I got to offer you a way to help me too.
Well, yeah. That's the way.
And it's not just,
I like it.
and don't
like-
get me
yeah,
wrong,
but-
I'm not just asking for these gratuities. Like I said at the beginning of the meeting here tonight, I need your help in presenting your ideas, opinions, perspectives, and stuff as well. That's why I like these open
Right,
forums,
right.
guys.
Yeah, some of us don't have as much time, and that helps us because we can help donate, so you can keep doing this and moving on because we're busy working and this, that, and the other. That's how it works,
Correct.
man. Helping one another.
Yeah. And so remember, folks, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. So God bless. Love you all. Have a great day.
All right, man.
Later, guys.
Later, Keith.
Peace out, everybody. Love you.